Well, good evening, morning, afternoon. It's 10:10 p.m. here in Florida as I prepare the video for the 6th of November 2013. The title is A Warning to Police and Government Employees. Wearing a badge or having a government ID does not give you the right to violate anyone's free will. As hundreds or thousands of people learned in the Nuremberg trials following World War II, I was just following orders was not a valid defense. The same is true today. Universal common law is the law of the land. Every land. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not violate the free will of another is applicable to each of us, regardless of who employs us. Oh, I see. I made a mistake there. Okay, fixed it. If you have been taught differently, those who taught you lied. You are responsible and accountable for your actions. And if you do not obtain proper consent from the individual or individuals you are dealing with, you are violating the law. Consent must not be coerced or obtained through fraud. Tricking and threats are not allowed. The time of judgment is upon humanity. No more excuses. This comes at the end of a very long day that I spent with my daughter and grandchildren, dealing with state officials who violated their rights last night. And I thank you, all of you that held us up in prayer today. My daughter was with me all day into the late afternoon, and I hardly got any sleep last night. Actually, 2 hours from about 20 after 11 till about 20 after 1 when I got up to upload my video onto Facebook. It was already on YouTube at that time. And even that 2 hours was not uninterrupted. I did wake up about 20 minutes to 1, and I did doze back off after that and woke up at 20 after 1, which is when I got up, and I was unable to sleep after that. It was a long day. There was a lot on my mind as I witnessed the abuse by government employees, police, and other government employees of my family. And it is abuse. They claim to be protecting children from abuse, when in fact, the very treatment that they're subjecting the children to is in itself abuse. Examining children, interrogating children without making that available to the parents. Now I don't expect them to obtain consent from children, but they must obtain consent from parents who are responsible. But the state has been, and state employees have been improperly trained to think that they are authorities. There's no such thing. Nobody has authority over anyone else. Governing anyone is by consent. Is by consent. Now it's interesting because as we were driving in the car to go to this interrogation and examination of my grandchildren that was forced upon my daughter, my grandson, who's 5 years old, was giving me a hard time. He didn't want to put his seatbelt on. And I don't have to take orders from you, is what he not only said then, he says it to me a lot. I don't have to obey you. And I said, he wants his own way. And my daughter said, Dad, don't we all? Don't we all? And we do. We each want to be respected, even a 5-year-old. Even a 5-year-old wants to do it his way or her way. It doesn't matter. Even at that young age, they don't want to have their will violated. Now, it is the responsibility of the parent to train a child, obviously, to protect the child. And I can understand state employees trying their best to protect, especially children, but to protect people. The people that wear badges and work for the government work with an understanding, a responsibility to be peace officers or protectors of the people's rights. That is the legitimate use of status as a government employee or as an officer of the court or of the law. But it's the law of the land. And that law of the land has been perverted in our current system. As I said yesterday, our government is and has become a criminal enterprise. It is an extortion racket. And it's all about money. The reason it's an extortion racket is because it's privately owned for profit. Government agencies are not government agencies. They are de facto institutions. De facto means in name only, but not in truth, not in reality. That's what de facto means. It's not real. It's not based on law. It's based on code, statute, ordinance, and things that we are told are laws, but they are not laws. And a whole lot of people in our world are operating under a false premise that they somehow have authority over others and they do not have to obtain consent. That is illegitimate governance. Illegitimate. And I want to drive that point home. And I want to drive the point home that the time of winking at such things and allowing such things is coming to an end because so many people are aware and awake that this is a violation of universal common law or the law of God or the divine law, whatever you want to call it. It's cosmic law. And it's common law is based on that. It's common sense. You cannot violate and force anyone to do anything. You cannot defraud anyone using trickery, as is done with all loans and all so-called adhesion contracts between government agencies and the people. They are all, listen to me, they are all fraud. And the time that these agencies and governments and corporations, which is really what they all are, can get away with that has come to an end. The line is being drawn in the sand by Anonymous, by me, by many people, actually. We're saying enough. No more. This is not going to be tolerated. And I have the feeling, and I wish I could give you proof. I wish I could, but I have the feeling that something is happening right now on our planet and in our solar system that is about to change the dynamics that have been taking place on this planet. Whereas those who are the thieves of human rights and the violators of human rights are going to be brought into account. The Pope's edict that went into effect on September 1st that Kate of Gaia mentioned, and I apologize, Kate, I can't, it's hard for me to think of you as a woman. I apologize for that. It's very hard for me. I do not mean to be slighting you in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate what you're doing and what all of the people are doing that are trying to make people aware of reality and how the system works and why it's broken and why we need to address it. I appreciate each one of you. And I appreciate each one of the police and government agencies who believe they are doing the right thing, even though they've been poorly trained and given misdirection. They've been given orders that serve an establishment that does not have the best interest of humanity at heart. They are insane, sick people. And you that are government employees, you that are acting in the capacity of a police officer or a court officer, that means attorneys and judges, you that are operating in these things, you need to be put on notice, and I'm putting you on notice right now. There's a reckoning coming, and you are on the wrong side of the law. And there is grace, but it's not going to be tolerated much longer that you can get away with the violation of human rights and with being involved in a human slave industry, which was what the industry of corporations is. It's human slavery. And you need to be aware of that. I don't believe that everybody that wears a badge or puts on a uniform or has an ID working for an alleged authority institution, I don't believe that every one of these people are bad. On the contrary, I believe that most of you are good people. Most of you mean well. I see that in talking with some of you and in dealing with some of you. But you've been poorly trained. You've been misled, lied to. You've been yourself a victim of improper programming. And it's time that you become aware of what you're doing. It's not all right to interrogate little children, as I said at the beginning, without the parents' consent. And if you question children to determine if there's been wrongs committed against them, and you and that needs to be videotaped, and it needs to be provided at the point right afterwards to the parent or the person that is responsible for those children. You cannot just interrogate children for an hour at a time and examine their bodies without any thought of violation. That is itself abuse. That is itself abuse. Now, I do understand that there are kids and people that are abused and greatly violated in relationships. Domestic violence is a real issue. I get that. And I get that you're trying to help. And I get that some of you are doing what you're doing because you yourself were abused. And you're trying to rectify things. I get that. And I applaud you for wanting to fix the problem. But it's really, really, really critically, crucially important that you not violate rights, because then you're involved in human slavery. You are not an authority. Nobody has authority over anyone else. I don't care if you're the Pope, the President, the Prime Minister. I don't care if you're God. Now that may sound strange, but I don't want to serve a God that violates my free will. Did you hear me? Nobody has the right to harm me or cause me loss or violate my free will unless I do that to somebody else. Then society does have the right, and individuals within society are given the right to bring peace, to create peace out of that situation. That's true. That's what a true peace officer does. That's what a mediator does. The whole point is not punishment. It's not to extort funds, which is what our government systems are about today. It's about extortion of funds, stealing money from people that can't afford it, and putting them on under constant stress so that they break under the stress because of all the pressure to get money to pay criminals to violate their rights. And that's exactly what judges do. Judges are criminals violating the rights of people, and the police that do their bidding are acting as criminals. It's organized crime, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. I want you to hear me. And if you know somebody that's in a government role, or a law enforcement role, or a court role as an attorney or a judge, share this video with them, because the day of reckoning is upon us. I just feel it, that there's something that's going to right all of this long series of abuses that have taken place at the hands of people claiming authority over other people. It just isn't so, and it must stop. Again, thank you, all of you that prayed for my daughter, my family, for me, and I hope you've remembered to pray for all of the people that suffer abuse at the hands of other people claiming authority. We need to uphold the law of the land, universal common law, and we need to understand that this is a time that we're creating together a more just and fair system and a more compassionate world. I call it the kingdom of heaven on earth. We're doing it together. Thank you for listening. Namaste.